All right, everyone, welcome to the webinar, the big show. Happy Thursday, the virtual event by Route 16, Power Up, Future-Proof Your Business with Low-Code Technology. Really quick to start us off, would love to do a couple of brief introductions. My name is Ariel Upton. I am the head of growth here at Route 16, and today I am lucky to be joined by my two colleagues, Corey O'Brien, one of our co-founders and principals, and Rick Trithui, one of our senior consultants. They are live from our downtown Chicago office today, and the three of us are fortunate enough to work together at a company called Route 16. Route 16 is a boutique consulting firm, and we're focused on helping our customers change the way they work for the better. We do that using Microsoft Dynamics, that's sales, service, and customer insights, formerly known as marketing, as well as the Power Platform. And our teams are working with these tools all day, every day, for customers across dozens of industries. And knock on wood, don't know if you can hear it, but I really did it. We haven't come across a problem we couldn't solve. So we only have an hour today to give you a taste of what the Power Platform is and live demo these tools for you. But if you have any questions after the event, if you want to talk more, just connect with us, find us on LinkedIn. We'd love to talk. So let's briefly set the stage of where we are today. What is this opportunity, and simultaneously one of these challenges that we're all trying to figure out is, what do we do with our data and how do we make that data connect? Especially when this customer and enterprise data lives everywhere. And so what I mean by that, it isn't just hanging out on the top of skyscrapers. It's existing in our CRM systems. We have our ERP data. We have marketing automation tools that are holding its own set of data. You're using another third-party tool for customer service, so on and so forth. And sitting on top of that, you have everyone's favorite data source, Outlook. I say that in complete jest. And so not always, but often, what this can do is make for a spider web. The systems, the data, how they all connect can become this tangled mess. And how we got here is our ecosystems have largely been built one app at a time, one website at a time, one database at a time, one software purchase at a time. And as a result, we're focusing our attention, our decisions, our resources on these separate products that don't necessarily work well together and were actually never designed to, right? And of course, no doubt, we have the talent and skill sets with our IT department and pro code teams to make this system work, to integrate these systems. But we're still focusing on making them talk, transforming that data to meet the applications or the websites or each of those specific teams' workflow needs, instead of making sense of what the data is telling us. And also, we're potentially holding back different lines of business from being self-sufficient in the tools so they can move quickly and autonomously without full dependency on IT. So we're going to spend the next hour talking about a different approach to development and supporting different lines of business with their own unique technology needs, because we know all of our teams have them. So first, let's look at the left. This might look familiar to you, right? Some disparate systems, third-party applications, mostly independently purchased and ultimately stitched together, heavily reliant on experts for execution and the need to transform the data. And what you're looking at on the right is one system. Words like clean, stackable, seamless, connected, ready for plug and play, using that one unified data model. And when Corey, Rick, and I were preparing today, Corey said something that stuck with me, especially as an end user and owner of tools in marketing and sales. There are no cliffs with the Power Platform. You're never going to find yourself staring at a wall, navigating limitations. There's always going to be a clear path to take that next step. And so we just mentioned Power Platform, which is what we're here to talk about today. So let's really briefly level set at a high level. Corey and Rick are going to do deeper dives into Power Apps, Power Pages, Power Automate, and Copilot Studio and lead us through some live demos. But As I said, let's level set. Power Platform is a unified set of low-code tools. They work across Office 365, Azure, Dynamics 365, and other standalone applications that help you analyze the data, build the solutions, automate processes, and then create those intelligent bots, which we're all dying to get our hands on. So as we go through the remainder of today's session, I invite you to think about the tools your teams are currently using to do their jobs. We want to start showing you what's possible with the low-code platform so you can connect the dots for yourself and imagine how they could support you and your coworkers. So final bit from me before I hand this off to Corey and Rick, we want to introduce you to Bob. So Bob is the star of the show today. He's a fictional character working for a fictional business. He's a marketing director at a financial services firm. And to run a campaign for his team to run campaigns, he either has to rely on multiple third-party applications that have to be integrated and maintained by IT, or he needs IT to build the campaign for him. So as we're going through this, let's see what executing a campaign could look like using the Power Platform. Final points for me before we dive in. Today's demo is live. We love live demos at Route 16. We love getting in the tools. We love showing you what it actually looks like. These are not screenshots. These are not recorded videos. It's not scripted in that way. All of that's to say is sometimes demo's going to demo, and definitely when we get into Copilot, AI is going to AI. If you've had any experience getting your hands on the Copilot tool, it's still in the learning phases, right? So roll with us. You're with us for the next 52 minutes. Everything about this is we're building on it as we go. Also, this is just starting the conversation. This is not exhausting what these tools can do. As I said, the goal here is to get you thinking about what is possible and showing you in case you haven't seen them for the first time. And then, as I said, we just want you to leave here with one idea about how you could create or consolidate your current biz app strategy with low-code tools and how that could help you and your team and ultimately your business for the future. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rick and Corey, and they're going to tell you more about these campaigns Bob is going to run.
Thanks so much, Ariel. As Ariel said, we are about to demo Bob's marketing campaign. And as she laid the foundation for us, we know Bob is a marketing director, and he recently got tasked with visiting potential universities during their college fair visits circuit. And what he's got to do is he's got to build a way to grab applications from potential college students. So what we're going to do in a hopefully really great way is show you really nicely how Bob can create an application that's really user-friendly on a tablet by leveraging the Dataverse and a Canvas app, and then build the UI for a website using Power Pages. And then also, he's going to want to respond to those applications. So we want to show you a nice way that he can do that through Power Automate. And also, ultimately, he wants to create a nice little chatbot experience for users when they're visiting the website. So let's meet more of Bob.
All right. So before we go into each demo, we're going to talk a little bit about the capabilities of the platform, and then we'll show it in action. So the very first thing that's up is going to be building the sign-up application in Power Apps. So Power Apps comes in two flavors. There's Canvas-based apps, which is what we're going to be working with today. If you think of Canvas-based apps, it's like it is an open canvas, right? That you can lay out the UI however you want it to look. That's a little animation you see here on the deck behind the text. So it's got a lot of freedom. It has some starting templates. It has some common controls that you can use. But Canvas-based apps, in addition to having very customizable user interface, also are very extensible as far as which data they talk to. Canvas-based apps use the Power Platform connectors to talk to all the different cloud data out there. In today's demo, we're going to be using Dataverse, which is kind of the core data model tied to the Power Platform. But you could connect this to SharePoint, Dropbox, or other things in the cloud. It could be, there's a lot of connectors out there for a lot of different systems, and Canvas-based apps can talk to all of those. The other flavor of Power Apps is model-driven apps. So if you are familiar with Dynamic CRM is a very advanced model-driven app. They tend to be more lists of records that you can create new ones or drill into them and edit details. You can customize some aspects of the user interface. You can change the form layouts or which columns show up. But in general, you're on Rails a little bit more. Sometimes that's good. Sometimes you want more flexibility. And then as far as connectivity, they almost exclusively work with Dataverse. You can do things like virtual tables to reach outside of that, or do more integration to get that data into Dataverse. But model-driven apps are a little bit more on Rails. Canvas-based apps are a little more freeform. And then the other part, so as we go through this tour of the Power Platform, we're going to also talk about what role Copilot plays with it. So in the Power Apps demo specifically, we're going to be using Copilot to give us a leg up as a designer, right? To help us through that data model development and the actual development of the Power App itself. There are other places Copilot shows up where it's more for the end user as opposed to the maker. But in today's demo for Power Apps, we're going to be talking about the maker experience. With that, I'll let Rick jump into the first demo.
All right, thanks so much, Corey. As Corey said, we are going to be leveraging Copilot to help us build a table first off, right? We know Bob is trying to grab credit applications. So I'm actually just going to quickly prompt Copilot with, we want to collect credit applications. So this is going to be my prompt, and we're going to see what Copilot does here. In the background, it's going to spin up the table in the Dataverse that we will be able to start with. So it did a really nice job actually giving me something to work with, right? And Bob's pretty happy with what he sees. He sees that it's going to collect the application ID right here. We see that this is a text column, auto numbering as we go. We see the applicant name, which is once again a text column. We can see that. So we're getting quite a bit of information here. Income, credit score, employment status. What type of field is that? Let's view it. We can quickly look at that. And it's a choice field. That sounds good. Bob's pretty happy, but it doesn't look complete, right? Bob knows, because he has the knowledge to know what information he's going to need so that he has the right information collected in this table as an applicant fills out the application. And he knows a first name won't cut it. So we're actually going to say replace applicant name with first and last name. And we'll see if Copilot can generate that, remove that applicant name and replace it. Awesome, it did it. That's great. So Copilot's going to Copilot, and so far we're doing well. The next thing Bob decides is that he probably doesn't need the income and the credit score. So really quickly, we're going to remove income. And it disappears. There it goes. And then we're going to remove credit score. So this is happening pretty fast for Bob, right? He's able to actually build a table, which he wasn't able to do in the past. He had to outsource this to his IT team. And now, using the Power Platform, he's able to do this really quickly. He also knows that he's going to eventually create that flow that sends an email. So we definitely want to capture an email. So let's add the email address.
As Rick's doing this, you notice that he's not using like proper casing and stuff, and Copilot's kind of following best practices and putting the capital E and A in email address, right? So it's interpreting and kind of knowing what you want to do with minimal input. And all of this could be done manually. You could add these fields and create them by hand if you wanted to. You can even go in and customize the ones it's adding, but this is just a way to get accelerated.
Thanks. And I also, while Corey was explaining that, I added the phone number, just 2 main points, because Bob also knows that eventually he might want to make these contacts or leads in their system for future opportunities. So Bob feels really comfortable with the table that he's created. And now ultimately he knows he needs to build an app, and specifically a tablet-based Canvas app. So we're going to click Create App, and the system's processing right now. And once again, I just want to circle back to what Corey said earlier, where we're leveraging Dataverse, but if you don't have Dataverse, know this: a Canvas app can talk to many different databases. So if your database lives outside the Dataverse, there may be a connector for you, right? Microsoft has a robust connections for us to use. So here we go. Our app is loading. Sometimes this takes a little bit, but the good part about this is even though it takes a little bit, we're actually 80% of the way there by the time this loads, and Bob's going to feel really good.
The other thing to add while this is loading, Rick, is as an end user, right? So imagining myself as Bob of creating this, of course, in a third-party marketing automation tool or landing page builder, you can create app-like landing pages, right, to collect this information. But the fact that it's a native app that matches the end user's experience of we want to live in apps, we want everything to look and feel like an app. We don't want it to have to be a website that has to be configured to look like an app. The fact that it's automatically built like that is a huge win for the actual people creating these materials on the business line of business side.
100%. Thank you for that. And as we see here, right, we're seeing a really nice app for those users. It doesn't look gritty. It doesn't look like your normal table. It looks like an app. In fact, we can manipulate this really easily. So I'm just going to show you really quickly how to manipulate some of these. And we can see here we have the application ID in the fields as I selected that. And we know this is just going to be something that's actually for the system so that we can process and keep order to the application. So the user doesn't really need to see this, and it's not relevant to when they fill out the application. And really, we don't probably need to know their age first. The first thing we actually want them to fill out is their first name and then their last name. And if you see over here, you can kind of see it in the background moving around for us. Email address, we want the phone number, and then employment status. So you can leverage that really, really quickly. And now we have all the fields that we want in the order we want. Over here, we can actually do the same thing with our left nav, right? We have this left nav that populated for us. And something that's actually really nice here is if I wanted to go to a different record, you can see all I got to do is hit Alt, and then I'm actually mimicking the experience as if I were to preview this. But now I actually want to change these fields, and I don't want age to be there. So I actually want that to maybe be the last name. You can see all the fields available in the table. I want the subtitle to be their first name, and then the body to be the email. And now this looks really clean. I like this. This looks great. And in fact, because we know we're going to universities, let me show you something really neat. You can actually change the theme, right? And I think we should go to Northwestern University. We're in Chicago. And so I know they like purple. I don't know if purple's here. Oh, I do see purple. So, but I actually prefer lavender. So I'm going to hit lavender here, and we're going to change the theme of our app. And then this generally just changes anytime I were to add a screen, we'll see the layout defer to lavender. Demo's going to demo. It's not like in my click right now.
If you happen to hear any background noise, we have jets circling around the city of Chicago preparing for the Air and Water Show. So we knew as soon as the webinar started, that was when they would start tearing by the windows outside, and that's happening right now.
It is loud. All right, as this theme changes, we'll see in the background, you see that it turned that purple. And now it's just going to spin on us. It's going to keep spinning.
It's because you clicked on it multiple times.
I know.
Got to change it a few times.
It's getting mad at me.
So yeah, what it's doing there is it's crawling through the control hierarchy, right? And making sure that theme gets applied to every control kind of within it across all the pages. So it just takes a few seconds.
Awesome. And then the final thing that I want to show you today is just how to preview this, right? Because we know Bob wants to see this on a tablet form. So if I hit that little play button, it's the preview, and we can actually see up here, I have a lot of different options. So we can look, Bob knows that his team uses Apple iPod Pros, 11 inches, and we can actually see what it's going to look like in that experience. In fact, Bob can mess around with it and create a new entry if you wanted to. So just see what this experience would be like. And then I can hit this checkbox, and it will actually create that record in our system. I didn't like that. I got an error. So Bob knows he needs to fix something. So that's good. Also, if Bob wanted to make sure this could work on a phone for applicants on the go, he can look at it on the phone as well. So that's just one way to preview the app. Bob feels really good about where he's at now, he knows that if he gets about 80% of the way there, which he feels good, he actually feels like he's almost 90% of the way there. His IT team can help him put some bells and whistles on this before he hits the college circuit. So now I'm going to hand it back over to Corey.
Awesome. All right. So now that Bob has created the sign-up application, or at least the start of it, the next thing on the list is he wants to be able to provide a website where the students can go and check on the status of their application. So for that, he's going to reach to Power Pages. Power Pages is the Power Platform solution for building websites. The main advantage is that you can have both internal users and external users and anonymous users. So if you wanted to get some information out to people that they may or may not have a sign-in, Power Pages would be a good tool for that within the Power Platform. It gives you kind of your expected content management system type of experience. The other advantage it has is that it can connect to all that same data that's inside of Power Platform. So we can take the credit card applications and surface those on a screen. So we're now just going to dive right into the demo, and we're going to build, we're going to use Copilot actually to build our site, and then use it to modify some of the content within that site. And here I'm going to point out, this is kind of like we said, it's akin to the cooking show. Like I've had this roast in the oven for 45 minutes. And we might jump to that at the end. It does take it maybe 60 to 90 seconds to create the site once we go through the wizard, and we just don't want people staring at us while we're doing that. So for right now, though, I'm going to say create a site that allows college students to check the status of their credit card application. So Copilot is going to take what I wrote, take the prompt I wrote, and come up with a suggestion. It's going to start off with a name. Credit Check Hub might be a little on the nose. Student, we'll just call it Student Portal, so I can distinguish it from the other one. It also suggests a web address here, and this isn't probably the final address you would want to give out to the students. You'd have something tied to your corporate domain. You can modify all of that when you're done doing the design, but this is a great way to just get a quick start because it takes no time to spin up. And then here we see the first suggestion that Copilot has thrown out. It's given us some stock images. It's given us some layout here, little snippets of code. This looks fine, but let's see if it can do a little better. This one looks a little basic to me. So we can always hit this try again button. And if we didn't like what it's producing, or we felt like we needed to tweak it, we can come up here and edit the description, the prompt that we gave it to try and do better. But this one looks better, right? I think the stock photos with some people in there is a better starting point. It feels like maybe it captures the college spirit a little bit better. So we're going to go with this one. And then you can see it is actually, again, used that initial prompt to come up with some content. Here we can see we've got an FAQ, which is great. I'm going to need that later. Let's say we want to put our application status in there, and then let's throw in about us. Oh, we'll do the contact us too. And any of these pages, if you're curious to look at them a little closer, you can click on this, and you can see this FAQ it put together. The actual FAQ questions and answers are tied to credit applications. So not only it's not just a bulleted, lorem ipsum type of thing, but it took a stab at actually creating the content for these pages, none of which you would probably use just completely out of the gate, but it's a much better demo to have after 30 seconds of tinkering than if you have the lorem ipsum version. So, all right, with that, I'm going to say done. And this is where it says setting up your environment. This could take a few minutes. So we're going to go to that roast that's in the oven, and I actually like the one that's creating for us right now. It looks a little bit better than this one, but we'll take this. So you can see once the site's done, it loads into the designer like this, and you get this. What you see is what you get type of experience. You've got all of the different pages that we checked off show up here on the left. We can go look at our FAQ that has similar questions. It's funny, like the content's a little bit different. Every time we run through, it's like we get a variation from Copilot from time to time, but in general, the broad strokes are the same. So let's take a look. This looks okay. Again, one of the advantages we have here is if we're going to do a tour where we hit a different college each weekend, we can change the theming of this pretty easily. And I'm actually going to ask Copilot for some help. So let's assume that I don't have a great Northwestern theme out of the gate here. I'm going to ask Copilot to create a theme based on the Northwestern University colors. So now it's going to reach out on the internet, figure out what the Northwestern colors are, and then come back with these recommendations for theme. So I was like, that looks great. That's quicker than if I had gone out there and started grabbing colors off the web. This is definitely faster. But now when I look here, I'm not super happy with this, right? I can barely read the black on purple there. So I'm going to manually intervene at this point. So this is pretty common, right? Like Copilot like gives you a leap forward and then you like go in and tweak it a little bit. So I'm going to edit the site header. And I'm going to come here to the styling, and on the title, I'm going to change the font color to be one of the lighter colors from our theme. And then similarly on the site navigation, I'm going to go change to that same color. So now we've got a much more legible navigation across the top. Okay, and then the other thing, if I look at this welcome page, it's a good start. It's a good start. But I'd like to add a little content. I'd like a little bit more than just the welcome here. Maybe I can throw a mission statement in right underneath this title bar. So I'm going to add a section, and you can choose from different types of layouts, right? I could do a single column, which is what I'll do. I could do a 50-50 split, 3, or I can do weighted to the left or the right. So I'm going to add a single column, and it's asking, what do you want to put inside here? So I'll pick text. And now I'm going to ask Copilot to help me write the text. So I'm going to say, create a mission statement for bank, provide services to college students. Okay, so it's real quick, quicker than I could have typed this even. We get a blurb, empowering college students to achieve financial success. It's not bad, maybe a little formal. Let's see if we come here, we can switch the tone to more friendly and see a variation of that. We are here to empower college students on their journey to financial success. That sounds good. We can flip through. We've got a few different variations that it's providing. I like the first one the best. And ultimately, I'm gonna click add to page when I find the one I like, and it's gonna drop it right in there. And again, you're probably going to take this and go meet with your team and review it and come up with some tweaks to it. But it's something quick that can get you started really fast. All right. So this looks pretty good so far, but I'd like to see it outside of the design experience. So this is where I can come in and click on preview to actually see my site up and running. You see here, I've got 2 links. I've got the desktop link, which is what I've just clicked on. And I also had a mobile link that has a QR code. I can actually use my phone to scan that QR code and then preview this on the, sorry, sharing stuff, and preview this on my phone. And the whole site by default is going to be responsive. It should fit different form factors. It just wouldn't work very well if I put this on my phone right now for you all to see it. Okay, and Power Pages, it relies heavily on caching. So anytime you make a change to the site or something like that and you preview it for the first time, you get this kind of 10 to 20 second-ish load time. But then everything gets cached and it's pretty snappy after that. So if I hit refresh on this page now, don't make a liar out of me. Usually it's pretty instantaneous. There we go. So now I've got this content. I'm going to go here to our FAQ. And prior to this, I came to the FAQ page and I printed it, and I just did save as a PDF. So I've got that saved to my desktop. That's going to come back to help us later when we create our chatbot with Copilot Studio. But for now, I think that Bob can feel pretty good about the site that he spun up in probably under 10 minutes. So flip back.
Same thing going off of that is there are lots of other tools, right, that allow marketers or end users to create these kind of site pages. But the fact that you don't need another tool to do this, right, speaking from personal experience, you can just use it in the same suite of tools as the other applications and then with that one data model. So instead of creating microsites or landing pages in a other marketing automation tool, but then you have to manage the integration, you have to manage the data transfer one or two ways, it's all in the same. So thanks, Corey.
Yeah. All right. Now that we've completed both our sign-up application and our website where students can go and check the status of their application, Bob wants to move on to a little help with managing the data. So the goal here will be as applications come in, Bob wants to run some quick logic on them to basically see if they're an auto reject or auto approve for their application, and then send them an email based on that. So he's going to lean on Power Automate for some of that behind the scenes work. And Power Automate actually spans 4 different types of automation. The first one is robotic process automation, RPA. You've probably heard of this. RPA is great when you have maybe desktop applications or old legacy applications that are not modernized, don't have modern APIs, but you still need to interact with them in an automated way. It can simulate mouse and keyboard clicks to interact with those older systems and then do screen scraping to pull data out of them as well. Digital process automation, which I will keep calling cloud flows for the rest of this demo, that is what we're going to take a look at today. So that is really about the more modern applications that do have APIs and have webhooks and things to fire notifications when data changes. Then you can build these very sleek, high-performance cloud flows that will take actions, and these use the same connectors that we talked about with a Canvas-based app. So the same data sets that you can reach out to in Canvas-based apps, you can interact with those in Power Automate. It's the same system behind the scenes. Business process automation is a little more niche. It's if you think about a record or a set of records and kind of as they go through a life cycle, the classic example is you have a sales team that's pursuing a lead, and then they qualify that lead into a true opportunity, and then maybe as they get more confident that the opportunity is going to be one, they advance it to different stages, and you can have different fields visible to them and required as you go. It doesn't have to be about that classic opportunity experience. You can do it with any kind of custom data you want, but that's the easiest example I have to give to people that will click. And then task and process mining is when you analyze a customer's existing, a company's existing data. You look at their logs that their automated processes are already generating today, and use that to kind of extrapolate what their processes are that you can then go tweak and customize. So it's a little bit more on the management side of things to delve into helping refine their existing processes. But today we're talking digital process automation and cloud flows. And then Copilot within Power Automate, particularly in this area, in the cloud flows, it is helpful in generating the cloud flows, like giving you a starting point that has the right connections to the right systems you need. It can generate more content, like the rejection email. Jets are really loud right now. It can also, one of my favorite things to do with it is to ask it to summarize a cloud flow. So a lot of times I might come in to work on a cloud flow that somebody else has built, right? And these, the example we'll build today is going to have, 3 or 4 steps in it. It's not going to be anything crazy, but you could have 50 steps in this. Think of like flow charts that you've probably built out for work stuff in the past. So if you're staring at 50 steps with branching and things like that, and you're just trying to understand what is this thing doing, you can save hours by just asking Copilot, summarize this flow. And it will read through and give you a pretty good, concise summary of what the flow is doing. And then that helps. You can jump right to the point you need to start making whatever change has been requested. I actually use this a lot to summarize flows that I wrote 6 months ago as well. So that's an useful thing. But I think with that, we're going to dive right into the demo.
Thanks, Corey. All right. Like Corey said, we are going to build a cloud flow that's going to look at that table we created earlier. So the first thing Bob needs to do is remember that Bob knows the if-then statements through his personal and professional career. He is smart enough to prompt Copilot with what it needs to actually get him started, right? Because this might be actually when low code meets the need for the IT team to be that resource for Bob, but Bob can still get started and Bob can confidently get started. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually prompt Copilot with create a flow when, too many spaces, one, a credit application record is created in Dataverse. Now remember, I think it's important to call out that I'm saying Dataverse because there's a lot of connectors out there, right? So I want to let Copilot know which one I want to connect to. And then I'm going to start those if-then statements. If employment status is unemployed, send a rejection email. Otherwise, send a welcome email. And now he feels good. Let's see what Copilot gives us. So right now, Copilot's going to generate what it thinks Bob's looking for as the starting of a potential flow. And right here, Bob looks, and it looks good. It says when a row is added or modified and deleted to Microsoft Dataverse, that's perfect. It looks like it's going to get a row. Awesome. And then it's going to check a condition. That sounds good to Bob, right? Because we want to check employment status and then send 2 different emails. So this looks great. Bob's happy. So he's going to click next. The next thing it's actually asking us for is what connection to use to access that database, right? So once again, I'll be admin, and then which connection should send the email. So if we wanted this to come from a service account or an info app, we could update this connection right there if Bob wanted to do that. But for today, we're going to create this flow. And now we're jumping in. And here is our flow. So once Bob gets here, he starts to click on his components. The first thing he's going to click on is the trigger, right? This is ultimately, a trigger is ultimately what's going to start our flow or that logic process. So right here, we see that things might not be as they seem. So Bob needs to do a few updates. So he's going to change type to added. He's also going to X on the table, and he does know the name of that table he created, which was credit applications. So he clicks on that, and scope shouldn't be for. We like words, and he wants us to run org wide. So Bob's knowledge transfer is going well. He's actually done the training through the customer, through the Center of Excellence at his banking company. So now the next thing he needs to do, and this is important for best practice purposes, he actually wants to change the name of this, right? Because Bob might not be the only one to work on this. So it'd be really important for him to let other people know what this trigger is actually doing. And this trigger is when a credit application is submitted. So now we've changed that. Best practice is good. Things look great for his trigger. The next thing he's going to go do is he's going to look at this get row by ID. Oh, look at that. Credit application. This looks good. Bob remembers some of his training. He's not sure there. So he knows the IT backlog's heavy, but he knows confidently if he can get this looking good, he might be able to ask somebody for a little assistance here. So he keeps going. Keeps moving forward, and he goes to his check condition because he knows he put that in there. He doesn't see any values here, so that's troubling for Bob. So Bob quickly goes in here. He's going to see when a credit card application is submitted. He knows he needs to look for employment status, and there's our field. So he updates his trigger, and he knows it needs to equal unemployed. So he puts that there. Things are looking good. Once again, he's going to change that name so we know what's actually happening here. So check if employment status, if I could type, employment status is unemployed. So now we know the condition is that, and if it's true, we know we want to send that rejection email. So let's open this up to see what it is. And perfect, Copilot did that for us. Look at that. We regret to inform you that your credit card application has been rejected. Credit application rejection, we like that. Well, we do want to update this to say rejection email. So far this flow is looking really good, and Copilot's done a great job. And look at this. Congratulations, your credit application has been approved. Let's put this to be a welcome email. There's our title. We're going to save this as it is. Bob feels good. And right here, we do see Copilot, right? So why don't I just quickly show you what Copilot has the potential to do for Bob? Man, demo's going to demo. It doesn't like all my updates, everybody. It's all right. We'll just get rid of that. And now I'm going to actually ask Copilot to update this welcome email. So I'm going to say update welcome email to be more friendly. We'll click enter, and then you'll see everything kind of, I can't do anything because Copilot's working, and it's actually working on this update for us.
Like all of the AI things, it doesn't always produce the best result. Like it just undid all of your renaming that you fixed there. But you can see here in the status, right, that it removed steps and then re-added them. And if you ever don't like what it did, you can undo it.
Thanks so much, Corey. But we can open up this email to see, look at that. Copilot did do that, right? It actually made it sound more friendly. It's great. Bob does need to update those names again, but that's minor, and it looks good. So at this point, Bob feels really good about the first Power Automate Cloudflow he's created, and he's ready to move forward.
I think you'll recognize like some of these things are more approachable than others, right? I think looking at this and reading and understanding what it does is very straightforward. Authoring it requires maybe just a little bit more training than some of the previous steps, like creating the Power App and the Power Pages site. All right. So next, there he is. Okay, so Bob is feeling really good, right? He's got a sign-up application that can run on the tablet and be used by people that work for his bank. He's got the Power Pages site focused on the students. They can go check the status of their application. And now he's got Power Automate dealing with that data coming in and routing it different directions. I also should point out, like, that was obviously a super simple flow. Maybe we would leave the auto rejection email, but we could put an approval process in there that actually has a human intervene, right? So somebody at the bank could be assigned those applications that did not automatically get approved to review it, and then they could choose whether or not to approve and let this go through. And you could, tie it to data and more things as time goes on. But for getting up and running pretty quickly, it's definitely impressive. Okay, so Copilot Studio. So this last cherry on top that Bob wants to do, when trying to put all of this stuff together, it's been less than an hour so far. And he wants to create a chat experience that he can put on that Power Pages site on the portal that allows students to come and ask questions, right? He knows that attention spans get shorter every year, and that people don't want to go searching around through different sites. So if there's a way for somebody to go and just type a question that a bot can answer, great. So he decides to roll up his sleeves and get into Copilot Studio to give that a try. If you have heard of Power Virtual Agents in the past, Copilot Studio is a rebranding of that, but it's also been enhanced significantly since Power Virtual Agents as well. We'll get into the details of everything it does kind of as we do the walkthrough here. But let's actually jump into that right now. All right, so for Copilot Studio, we're actually going to create a new Copilot. And for this one, we're not going to use Copilot to create Copilot. One Copilot is enough. So we're going to jump right into creating it. And I'm going to create it with the hilarious name of Dollar Bill because it's a financial chatbot. And we'll go ahead and just create it like this. So this will give us a chance to see kind of what we get vanilla state out of the box and where your starting point is if you haven't given any prompts. And we will use Copilot within here to create a topic here shortly. But okay, so that doesn't take long. This gives us our Copilot. And you can see a few things here, right? It brought our name in. I could click edit as soon as it's finished loading. I can change that icon or the name if I change my mind in the future. And you can see over here on the right, this is actually great. I've got a test panel that pops open. So this allows me to interact with the Copilot, how it exists today. So I could just start off with like a simple hello, and we'll see that the Copilot's going to reply, hello, how can I help you today? And what drove it to give that answer is if we go here and look in the topics, there is a greeting topic, and this is just one of the out of the box topics. This one is, there's nothing AI happening here. This is just kind of if the phrases look like this, reply with this. It's the simplest of topics. And you can see these blue underlines here are indicating that this is the flow it went through to answer my phrase. So if I were to say bye, it did not match, right? So it takes away that blue line there, and it's going to be in a different topic for that one. Say yes. Okay. Let's do a little bit of a tour across these top tabs. So knowledge, this is where we can start leveraging AI, and it's amazingly simple to hook this up and have it working relatively fast. So I mentioned before that I'd saved that FAQ as a PDF. Typically, if I'm working with website data, and especially if it's anonymous, like publicly available websites, I would add that this way. Since we just built that site and it doesn't really have its final, it hasn't been deployed somewhere. That's why I exported that FAQ as a PDF. So I'm going to go to Files instead and go to my desktop and grab the FAQ and add that. So now Copilot is going to scan through this document, look at the text, and be able to answer questions based on what content is in that document. But just to show that it also works with sites, I'm going to come here and go to public websites, and I think it might be useful to have. We're going to add a credit bureau, Experian, just point at its public website, because that way students can ask questions about credit scores and things like that, right? And it can be a source of information that our bot can use to help answer. And you can see the website, it's ready immediately. And you're probably wondering, like, how is that possible? Like, did it go scan all of Experian as soon as you hit apply? No. What happens when you use this website side is that it's actually using Bing to go figure out which pages probably have the answer to the question that they ask. And then it uses generative AI to consume those pages and provide the answer real time. So if I do a little refresh over here of my test window, and then come ask the Copilot, what is a good credit score? It should be able to find the answer using the Experian site. So here you see, for a credit score with a range between 3 and 850, a score of 700 above is good, and the score of 800 above is excellent. So because we're the bot author and we're in this interface, I can look at this reference that will take me to, this is the page that helped answer that question. And you can see it's deep within the Experian site. It's not like it's a top level page. So that's super impressive that can do that. It's also then showing us how did it answer that, right? So it's got a topic out here called conversational boosting, which is basically the topic that gets hit when we don't know what they're asking for. It did not match anything else. So it routed them to this topic, which is then using generative answers. You can do some fun stuff in here. You can edit this. You can give it instructions like talk like a pirate. It's super useful, I know, for Bob, who's going to want that at his bank. But you can give it instructions like that, and then it will answer when it hits this topic. It's going to use that hint when answering. So I'll ask again. What is a good score? I don't see any pirate-like language there, but it does work. It does work. I think it's just my timing was a little off. I refreshed too fast. You'll have to try that one for yourself. Okay, and then let's come back here and look at. So we've covered the overview, the knowledge. Let's talk about topics. So I'm going to add a new topic at this point. So we get these out of the box ones. Some of them give you a little bit better example of more complex ones that have like conditional flows in them, or they might take actions or redirect you to another topic. But if you wanted to create one of these, you can come out here to topics and then say add a topic, create from a description with Copilot. So let's say refer a friend, allow users to refer a friend. providing their name and email address. Okay, so you can see that it's got these different phrases it kicked in that could possibly kick off this topic. And then it's saying like, what is your friend's name? And then it's prompting us here to come in and like, hey, when they answer that question, what do you want to do with the result? Normally I would go in and spend time creating really nicely named variables. I'm just going to come in here and click create new, and it gives us the great name of var1. And then I'm going to do the same thing to create a new variable for the email address. And now if I come down here and look at this message, it's referencing the friend's email address. And I'm going to switch that over to a variable. Variable, I think var2. Okay, and I click save in this topic. Okay, it's refreshing. And I will say, and I refer a friend. Notice this text is not identical to any of these. It's still doing a little inference that like, oh, this is close. This is probably what they're asking. All right, so I'm going to say Bob, and he's Bob at bob.com. And then it goes, thank you. So at this point, obviously, like, great. It asked the questions, it answered intelligently. It looks like it captured it, but it did nothing with it, right? It just threw it out. And that's where actions come in. So if you come in here and you want to then run one of those Power Automate cloud flows that we did before, you could add an action, right? And you can see I can create a new flow at this point. And then I could route that into like a new referral table in Dataverse, and I could have an email that gets sent out to that new referral with some information and more links if they actually want to fill out an application themselves. Again, I can use all of the different connectors and actually different skills out there available in the cloud to do all kinds of automation. So really like the bots they're not just about conversation, but they're also about taking action with answers and based on prompts that users are giving them. Last couple of tabs here. So the analytics tab, this lets you see how is your bot performing. So if you have topics, how many of them are abandoned, how many of them reach completion, and then upon ending of a topic, you can have the bot actually do a customer satisfaction survey, right? It can say, did this answer your question, yes or no? If it's no, you can capture more details of what they were actually looking for, and then you can come into this analytics tab and look for all of those conditions and then attack the topics that are underperforming and try and improve those so that you can get the users to the right place, get them the action that they're looking for. And then just takes a bit to load the first time, but I'll skip it for now. And then if we go to the channels, so this is how are you interacting with your users? Where does the bot talk to right now? And you can see right now it's saying because you chose Teams authentication, only the Teams channel is available. So I could go into the settings and change my auth, and there's different options there, but I could make it available to websites and things. And if you click on those different things, it gives you instructions on how to interact with those platforms and how to connect them. But you've got anything that's kind of a back and forth instant messaging chat type of experience is applicable here. So you can see Slack is on here, right? You can see GroupMe is on here. The custom website will put a widget on the page that is very similar to this one. But then down here, we actually see like the next step, which is what if I need to transfer this automated chat to an actual live person chat. And that's what these customer service integrations allow. So you can see there's the Dynamics 365 customer service, of course. So the front of the pack, you've got Genesys and Salesforce and ServiceNow and Zendesk. But all of these are different things that you can just connect it to very seamlessly to transition that conversation to a real person seamlessly when they need to. The only other thing I wanted to see was if our knowledge okay, so it did complete our FAQ. So let's see if it can answer a question now. From that FAQ, I had something about how long does it take for my application to be reviewed? See if that gets pulled from the PDF, hopefully. Oh, and the pirate's in. Great. Yar. The processing time for a credit card application can vary, but it typically takes 7 to 10 business days. And if we want to go look at where did it pull this from, we can see it's from our frequently asked questions. So it's pulling it from within that content. It's talking like a pirate, which is completely useless in this scenario, but a lot of fun. And that's a quick, brief scratching the surface of Copilot. Obviously, you could take this a lot further, but given the time that we have today, I think that hopefully is enough to whet your appetite. And with that, I think Bob is pretty happy with himself, patting himself in the back for what he was able to jam through in an hour. Go, Bob. And let's see, I think we're going to pass it back to Ariel to bring us home.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, Bob was busy. He got a lot done today. So thank you both. So to close out today's session, we just want to highlight some real world scenarios and use cases of how other companies are using the Power Platform. There's a lot on the slide. I'm not going to read it word for word. I'll talk a little slowly here so you can read it for yourself. But going back to the goal and our objective at the beginning of this call is, what have you seen today that triggers an idea or multiple ideas about how you could change your current strategy with these low code solutions? What are you doing today that could be built in a different way using the Power Platform that could benefit you in your role, your team, the teams you support, and ultimately your business? So keeping the joke alive, Copilot is going to Copilot. It was really good today. But the reality is that we all need to be exploring these tools right now. And if we're waiting until they're perfect, or we're waiting until they come out of the box ready to go, we will be behind. So we hope that showing you what is possible in this real world use case example of one person and one marketing team trying to run one campaign, what it can do. Just imagine the full capabilities of what it can do across other parts of the business. So we hope these live demos, we hope this kind of conversation and just starting the exploration of Power Platform gets you excited to move to that next step. And so with that, thanks so much for spending an hour with us today on your Thursday. Find us on LinkedIn, connect Route 16, myself, Ariel, Corey, Rick. Get in touch with us if you have any questions. We will get you in touch with the right person that can answer it for you. And we will be hosting more of these in the future and love to invite you back. So thanks so much for being here, and we hope to talk to you soon. Have a great rest of your day.